You pulled away before completion. That's a treaty violation on my planet. The diplomatic dance captain. Marcus Kane stood on the bridge of the UES Defiant, watching the massive Zephyrian mothership approach through the view screen. The alien vessel looked like a crystalline cathedral floating through space, its surface pulsing with bioluminescent patterns that hurt his eyes to look at directly. 3 months of negotiations had led to this moment, and Marcus felt the weight of humanity's future pressing down on his shoulders. "Captain, they're requesting permission to board," reported Lieutenant Torres from the communications station. The young officer's voice carried barely controlled tension. Everyone knew how important this meeting was. "Grant them access to Docking Bay 3, Marcus replied, adjusting his dress uniform one final time. "And Torres, make sure the translation protocols are running perfectly. We can't afford any misunderstandings today." The Zephyrians were an ancient race that controlled 3 key trade routes humanity desperately needed. Their technology was centuries ahead of human science, but they were known for their rigid adherence to protocol and ceremony. One wrong move could set back human expansion by decades. Ambassador Kexathara entered the reception hall with flowing movements that seemed to defy gravity. The Zephyrian stood nearly 8 feet tall, with skin that shifted between deep purple and silver depending on the angle of light. 4 arms moved in complex patterns as they communicated through gesture, as much as words. "Captain Kane?" Kexathara's voice resonated through the translation device carrying harmonics that made Marcus's bones vibrate. "We are pleased to finally meet face to face after so many transmissions across the void." "Ambassador, the honor is ours," Marcus replied, bowing in the precise manner their cultural briefings had specified. "Humanity is eager to forge this partnership between our peoples." The ceremony began with traditional Zephyrian ritual dancing, performed by 3 of Kexathara's attendants. Marcus watched politely, though the swirling movements and pulsing lights made him slightly nauseous. Dr. Jennifer Walsh, the ship's xenobiologist, had warned him about this effect. Zephyrian ceremonies were designed to create biochemical responses in participants. "Now we begin the bonding protocol," Kexathara announced, extending 2 of their arms toward Marcus. "Place your hands against mine, and we shall share the essence of our agreement." Marcus stepped forward, feeling dozens of eyes watching from both species. The diplomatic stakes couldn't be higher. As his palms touched Kexathara's warm, slightly scaled skin, he felt an electric tingle run up his arms. The ambassador's large eyes began to glow with inner light. The mental connection hit Marcus like a wave. Suddenly he could feel the Zephyrians' emotions, their deep sense of honor, their genuine desire for peaceful cooperation. But underneath he sensed something else. Fear. Not of humanity, but of something much larger and more dangerous lurking in the darkness between stars. Images flashed through the connection. Vast ships with no identifying marks. Entire worlds stripped bare of life. The Zephyrians weren't just seeking trade partners. They were looking for allies against an enemy that consumed everything in its path. "You see now?" Kexathara whispered, directly into Marcus's mind. "The Devourers come. Your species shows promise, but you must prove worthy through the completion ritual." Marcus felt the weight of cosmic responsibility settling on his shoulders. This wasn't just about trade routes anymore, this was about survival. Through the mental link, he communicated his understanding and acceptance. But then the ship's emergency klaxon began blaring. Red lights bathed the reception hall as Lieutenant Torres's voice crackled over the intercom. "Captain to the bridge. Immediately, we've got incoming vessels, unknown configuration." The spell broke. Marcus instinctively pulled his hands away from Kexathara, breaking the mental connection mid-ritual. The ambassador's eyes went wide with shock, their skin shifting to dangerous shades of crimson and black. "You have withdrawn before completion," Kexathara said, their voice carrying tones of disbelief and growing anger. "This is a grave violation of sacred protocol. On my world, such an act is considered the deepest possible insult." Marcus felt his heart sink as he realized what he'd done. In trying to protect his ship, He might have doomed humanity's chances at this crucial alliance. The Zephyrian delegation was already backing away, their body language radiating outrage and betrayal. "Ambassador, please let me explain," Marcus began, but Kexthera was already turning toward the exit. "There can be no explanation for such dishonor, Captain Kane. The ritual was sacred. You have shown that humans cannot be trusted with the deepest bonds of alliance." Part 2. Consequences of Broken Trust. The bridge was chaos when Marcus arrived, still feeling the phantom tingles from the broken neural connection. Commander Sarah Mitchell, his first officer, looked up from the tactical display with grim determination etched across her features. "Report," Marcus ordered, trying to push aside thoughts of the diplomatic disaster he'd just created. 6 ships dropped out of hyperspace 30 seconds ago, Mitchell replied. "They're not broadcasting any identification, and their energy signatures don't match anything in our databases. They're maintaining position at the edge of our sensor range." Marcus studied the tactical display. The unknown vessels were sleek and dark, almost seeming to absorb light rather than reflect it. Something about their design made his skin crawl. "Have they made any hostile moves?" "Negative, sir. They're just watching." A new voice cut through, the bridge chatter. Ambassador Kexthera had followed Marcus, accompanied by 2 of their guards. The Zephyrian's skin was still showing angry patterns of red and black. "Those are Devourer scout ships," Kexthera announced, their forearms gesturing toward the display. "They have found us here, drawn by the incomplete ritual energy. Your withdrawal has created a beacon that calls to them across the void." Marcus felt his blood turn to ice. "I had to respond to a potential threat to my ship." "Your ship?" Kexthera's skin patterns shifted to deeper, more dangerous colors. "Captain Kane, do you understand what you have done? The bonding ritual creates a psychic shield that hides participating vessels from Devourer detection. By breaking the connection, you have exposed not only your ship, but mine as well." Lieutenant Torres looked up from his station, face pale. "Captain, the unknown ships are moving. They're forming an attack formation." "Red alert," Marcus ordered. "All hands to battle stations. Raise shields and charge weapons." "Your primitive weapons will not stop them," Kexthera said bitterly. Devourers consume energy itself. Every shot you fire will only make them stronger." "Then what do you suggest?" Marcus asked, watching as the enemy ships began their approach. "We can't just sit here and let them destroy us." Kexthera was silent for a long moment, their skin cycling through complex patterns Marcus couldn't interpret. Finally, they spoke. "There is one possibility. The ritual can be completed even after interruption, but it requires a much deeper connection. You would have to open your mind completely, hold nothing back." "What are the risks?" "For your species. Unknown. Humans have never attempted the deep bonding. It could kill you, or drive you insane, or change you in ways that cannot be undone." Marcus looked around the bridge at his crew. These were good people who trusted him to make the right decisions. The approaching Devourer ships were moving faster, now their dark hulls seeming to bend space around them. "How long do we have?" he asked. "Perhaps 10 of your minutes before they reach optimal firing range," Kexthera replied. Marcus made his choice. "Commander Mitchell, you have the bridge. If this goes wrong, get as many people to the escape pods as possible." "Sir, I can't let you." "That's an order, Sarah." Marcus turned to Kexthera. "Ambassador, I'm ready to complete the ritual." They moved to a quiet corner of the bridge. Kexthera placed all 4 hands on Marcus's head and shoulders, their large eyes beginning to glow again. "Remember, Captain, you must hold nothing back. Every memory, every fear, every hope must be shared." The connection slammed into Marcus like a tsunami. This time there was no gentle tingle, no gradual building of sensation. His consciousness was ripped open and laid bare. He felt Kexthera diving through his memories, experiencing his childhood, his training, his fears about command, his deep love for his crew and his species. But it worked both ways. Marcus found himself living through centuries of Zephyrian experience. He saw their homeworld, beautiful and crystalline, He witnessed the first devourer attacks, worlds stripped of all life in moments. He felt the desperate search for allies, the hope that younger species might hold keys to survival. The devourers are approaching optimal range, someone called from what seemed like very far away. Through the connection, Marcus felt Kexithera's surprise at human resilience. Most species broke under the strain of deep bonding, but human consciousness seemed uniquely adaptable. Together they reached out with their combined will, weaving a psychic shield around both ships. The effect was immediate. On the tactical display, both the human and Zephyrian vessels seemed to shimmer and fade, becoming nearly invisible to sensors. The approaching devourer ships slowed, their formation breaking as they searched for targets that were no longer there. The awakening Protocol Marcus Kane sat in his ready room 3 hours later, trying to process what had happened during the deep bonding ritual. The silver flecks in his eyes were becoming more pronounced, and he could feel Kexithera's presence, at the edge of his consciousness like a warm current in deep water. The door chimed and Dr. Jennifer Walsh entered with a medical scanner and a concerned expression. "Captain, I need to run some tests. The crew is worried about the changes we're observing." "What kind of changes?" Marcus asked, though he suspected he already knew. "Your neural activity has increased by 30%. Your reflexes are faster. Your cognitive processing speed has improved dramatically and—" Dr. Walsh hesitated. "Sir, you correctly predicted the devourer withdrawal pattern before it happened. That's not normal human intuition." Before Marcus could respond, his enhanced senses picked up Kexithera approaching from 3 corridors away. The Zephyrian's emotional state came through clearly, excitement mixed with concern and something that felt like parental pride. "The ambassador is coming," Marcus said. Dr. Walsh looked at the door in confusion. "I don't hear anything." Kexithera entered moments later, moving with their characteristic flowing grace. Their skin showed patterns Marcus now recognized as pleased anticipation mixed with scientific curiosity. "Captain Kane, we must discuss what has occurred," Kexithera said. "The deep bonding has awakened dormant capabilities in your neural structure. This is unprecedented among the species we have encountered." "What exactly are you saying?" Dr. Walsh asked, her medical scanner beeping frantically as she tried to get readings on both Marcus and the Zephyrian. "Your captain has become the first human to achieve psychic integration," Kexithera explained. "His mind now operates on frequencies that connect him to the deeper currents of space-time. He can sense devourer movements, predict stellar phenomena, and communicate across vast distances without technology." Marcus felt the truth of those words resonating in his bones. Even now he could sense the devourer fleet regrouping at the edge of the system, their dark ships like holes in the fabric of reality. But more than that, he could feel other things. Distress calls from colonies light years away, the approach of a solar storm that wouldn't reach them for days, the emotional states of every person on his ship. "The enhancement comes with responsibilities," Kexithera continued, "and dangers. Your mind is now connected to networks of consciousness that span the galaxy. You must learn to control these new abilities or they will overwhelm you." Lieutenant Torres's voice crackled over the intercom. "Captain, to the bridge. We're receiving a priority transmission from Earth Command." Marcus made his way to the bridge, acutely aware of how different everything seemed now. He could feel the emotional undercurrents of his crew, sense their loyalty and their fear in equal measure. Commander Mitchell was broadcasting worry and protectiveness. Lieutenant Torres radiated nervous energy mixed with excitement about the unknown. "Put it through," Marcus ordered. Admiral Harrison's weathered face appeared on the main screen, his expression grim. "Captain Kane, we've received some disturbing intelligence. Our deep space monitoring stations have detected massive devourer fleet movements. They're converging on human space from multiple vectors." Marcus nodded, unsurprised. Through his enhanced awareness, he'd already sensed the approaching storm. "How long do we have?" "Best estimates put the lead elements at our outer colonies in 72 hours. Captain, we need to know if this Zephyrian alliance is real. Can we count on their support?" Marcus looked at Kexithera, and through their mental link, felt the Zephyrians. Complex emotions. Fear for their own people mixed with genuine concern for humanity. And underneath it all, a growing hope that perhaps together they might finally have a chance against their ancient enemy. "Admiral, the alliance is real," Marcus said. "But it's more than just a treaty. The Zephyrians have awakened capabilities in humans that we never knew we possessed. We're no longer the same species that left Earth." "Explain." "I can sense the Devourer fleets, sir. Their numbers, their positions, their intentions. The bonding ritual has connected me to what the Zephyrians call the deep current of spacetime, and I'm not the only one who can learn this." Dr. Walsh stepped forward. "Admiral, the captain's neural patterns have been fundamentally altered. If this process can be replicated safely, we might be able to create a network of enhanced humans, capable of coordinating defense efforts across multiple star systems simultaneously." Admiral Harrison was quiet for a long moment. "Captain, are you recommending we begin this enhancement process with other personnel?" Marcus felt the weight of the decision pressing down on him. Through his connection with Kexathera, he sensed that other Zephyrian ships were already en route to human colonies, ready to begin training programs. But he also sensed the risks. Not every human mind would survive the transformation. "Sir, I recommend we begin with volunteers," Marcus said finally. "The process is dangerous, but the alternative is extinction. The Devourers aren't just coming to conquer us. They're coming to consume every trace of human consciousness from the universe." "Very well. Captain Kane, you're hereby authorized to begin Project Awakening. Use whatever resources you need." "And Captain?" "Yes, sir." "God help us all if this goes wrong." The transmission ended, leaving the bridge in tense silence. Marcus could feel his crew's mixture of excitement and terror at what lay ahead. Through his enhanced senses, he also felt something else. The first stirrings of similar awakenings beginning on other human ships across the fleet. The transformation of humanity had begun. Part 4. The network expands. 2 days later, the UES Defiant had become the center of the most ambitious experiment in human history. The cargo bay had been converted into a training facility where volunteers underwent the awakening process under Kexathera's guidance. Of the 50 crew members who had volunteered, 37 had successfully achieved some level of psychic integration. Marcus stood in the modified cargo bay, watching as Lieutenant Commander Rachel Torres worked through her first deep bonding session with one of Kexathera's junior ambassadors. Through his enhanced awareness, he could feel her consciousness expanding, touching the edges of the cosmic network that connected all awakened minds. "The connection is stabilizing," reported Dr. Walsh from her mobile medical station. "Neural activity is within acceptable parameters." Rachel's eyes snapped open, now showing the same silver flecks that marked all successfully awakened humans. She looked around the room with wonder, her face reflecting the awe that came with first contact with the expanded universe of consciousness. "I can feel them," she whispered. "The other awakened minds across the fleet. We're all connected." Marcus nodded. Through the growing network, he could sense similar training sessions taking place on dozens of human vessels. The process wasn't without casualties. 7 people had died during failed bonding attempts, and 12 more had suffered psychological breaks requiring intensive medical care. But those who succeeded were becoming something unprecedented in galactic history. "Captain," called Ensign David Park from the communication station they'd set up in the cargo bay. "We're receiving a priority message through the psychic network. It's coming from the UES horizon." Marcus closed his eyes and opened his mind to the deeper currents. Immediately, he felt the presence of Captain Lisa Chen aboard the horizon, her consciousness burning bright with urgency and determination. "The Devourers have reached the Centauri colonies," her mental voice carried clearly across the light years. "But something's different this time. They're hesitating, almost like they're confused by our psychic signatures." Through the network, Marcus shared the tactical situation with every awakened human in the fleet. 17 Devourer ships had emerged from hyperspace expecting to find defenseless colonies. Instead, they'd encountered something they'd never faced before, an entire human settlement linked through psychic bonds to a galaxy-spanning network of consciousness. They feed on fear and isolation. Kexthera's mental voice joined the conversation. But your species maintains individual identity, even while connected to the collective. This creates a paradox in their consumption matrix. Marcus felt an idea forming, not just in his own mind, but emerging from the collective intelligence of all awakened humans. What if we could extend this protection, create a psychic shield around entire star systems? Theoretically possible, came the response from Dr. Elizabeth Morrison aboard the research vessel Archimedes. But it would require perfect synchronization between hundreds of awakened minds. Then that's what we'll do, Marcus decided. All ships begin forming the convergence pattern. We're going to save Centauri. What followed was unlike anything in recorded history. 47 human vessels began moving in perfect coordination, their awakened crew members forming a psychic network that spanned cubic light-years of space. Marcus found himself at the center of it all, his consciousness serving as the focal point for humanity's first collective action as an enhanced species. The Devourer ships at Centauri began to behave erratically as the psychic shield formed around the colony. Their usual feeding patterns were disrupted by the complex interplay of individual and collective consciousness that the human network represented. "They're withdrawing," Captain Chen reported. "The Devourers are actually retreating." But Marcus sensed something else through the network. The enemy retreat wasn't defeat, it was regrouping. Through the cosmic currents, he felt the massive Devourer hive mind stirring with interest rather than fear. Humanity had revealed a new capability, and now they were going to face the full attention of their ancient enemy. "All vessels, maintain the network, but prepare for the real battle," Marcus broadcast through both traditional communications and psychic channels. That was just their scouting force. The main fleet is coming, and they're bringing something we've never seen before. Through the enhanced senses of the awakened, every human in the fleet felt it at the same moment. A presence so vast and hungry that it seemed to darken the stars themselves. The Devourer Queen Mind was awakening from centuries of slumber, drawn by the intriguing taste of human consciousness. "How long until they arrive?" asked Commander Mitchell, who had successfully undergone awakening the day before. Marcus reached out through the network, touching the edge of that terrible hunger. 6 hours, and they're bringing everything they have. Kexthera's mental voice carried tones of grim admiration. "In 3 days, your species has evolved further than most do in millennia, but evolution requires survival, and the greatest test is yet to come." Marcus looked around at his transformed crew, feeling their determination flowing through the psychic network. Humanity had been changed forever, awakened to capabilities they'd never imagined. But whether that would be enough to survive what was coming remained to be seen. The stars themselves seemed to hold their breath as the network of human consciousness prepared for the battle that would determine the fate of 2 species, and perhaps the galaxy itself. Part 5. The Final Convergence. The Queen Mind arrived like a wound in reality itself. Marcus felt it before the sensors detected anything, a presence so vast and alien that it made his enhanced consciousness recoil in instinctive horror. Through the psychic network, he sensed similar reactions from every awakened human in the fleet. "Contact," reported Lieutenant Torres, though her voice was strained from fighting the psychic pressure radiating from the enemy. "Multiple hyperspace, emergent signatures. I counted, dear God, there must be thousands of them." The main view screen showed what no human eyes had ever witnessed, the full might of the Devourer Armada. Ships that looked like twisted metal nightmares emerged from impossible angles in space, their hulls seeming to absorb light and hope in equal measure. At the center of the formation hung something that defied description, a vessel the size of a small moon, its surface crawling with patterns that hurt to perceive directly. "The Queen ship," Kexthera whispered through the network. "I had hoped never to see it again." Marcus felt the weight of every consciousness in the human fleet pressing against his mind. 47 ships, over 15,000 souls, all looking to him for leadership in humanity's darkest hour. Through the psychic link, he could sense their fear, but underneath it burned something the Devourers had never encountered before: defiant hope. "All ships, form the final convergence pattern," Marcus ordered through both voice and thought. "This is what we've been preparing for." The human fleet moved with inhuman precision, each vessel guided by the collective consciousness of the awakened. They arranged themselves in a complex three-dimensional mandala around the Centauri system, their psychic energy creating geometric patterns that resonated through the fabric of space-time itself. The Devourer response was immediate and overwhelming. Beams of pure entropy lanced out from their ships, weapons designed to unmake matter at the quantum level. But when the destructive energy struck the psychic barriers maintained by the human network, something unprecedented happened. The attacks were absorbed, converted, and reflected back as coherent patterns of creative force. Where Devourer weapons tried to destroy, human consciousness insisted on creation and preservation. "Impossible," came a mental scream from the Queen Mind, its alien thoughts forcing their way into the network. "Matter creates consciousness, not the reverse. This violates the fundamental laws." Marcus felt the vast intelligence behind those words, ancient, powerful, and completely unprepared for what humanity had become. "You're wrong," he projected back through the network. "Consciousness creates reality. We're just proving it on a galactic scale." The battle that followed existed on multiple planes of reality simultaneously. Physical weapons fired and shields flared, but the real conflict took place in the realm of pure thought and will. The Devourer Queen Mind tried to consume the human network, only to find that each individual consciousness remained distinct even while connected to the whole. Through the psychic link, Marcus felt Kexathera's amazement. "Your species maintains paradox," the Zephyrian marveled. "Individual and collective simultaneously. The Devourers cannot process this contradiction." The enemy formation began to show signs of confusion. Ships collided as their pilots struggled with sensory input that defied their understanding of reality. The Queen Mind's commands became increasingly erratic as it tried to comprehend prey that refused to behave according to the universal laws it had observed for millions of years. "Now," Marcus whispered through the network, "while they're destabilized, all awakened minds focus on a single thought: hope." What happened next would be debated by xenobiologists for centuries. 15,000 human minds, enhanced by Zephyrian bonding techniques and connected through quantum-entangled consciousness, focused their combined will on a single concept: hope. Not just the word, but the pure essence of the idea, the fundamental belief that tomorrow could be better than today. The effect rippled outward through space-time itself. Devourer ships began to change, their twisted metal hulls straightening and brightening. The entropy weapons shut down as their operators experienced something they had never known: the possibility of creation rather than consumption. The Queen Mind's final scream echoed across multiple dimensions. "What have you done? We are eternal. We are inevitable." "No," Marcus replied, his voice carrying the authority of an entire species. "You're just hungry, and we're offering you something better than destruction." The transformation spread through the Devourer fleet like wildfire. Ships that had terrorized the galaxy for eons became something new, not destroyed but changed at the fundamental level. The Queen ship itself began to glow with warm light as its massive consciousness touched hope for the first time. "I remember," came a new voice through the network, vast but no longer threatening. "Before the hunger, before the endless consumption, we were gardeners, cultivators of consciousness across the void." Through the psychic link, Marcus saw flashes of the Devourer's true history. They had once been the galaxy's greatest protectors, nurturing young civilizations and helping consciousness bloom throughout the cosmos. Only some ancient trauma had twisted them into what they became. "The trauma can be healed," Dr. Walsh said through the network, her medical training extending into realms of psychic therapy no human had ever attempted. "If we work together." What followed was the strangest alliance in galactic history. Human ships moved alongside transformed Devourer vessels, their crews working through the psychic network to heal wounds that had festered for millions of years. The process took days, but gradually the ancient protectors remembered who they had been before the hunger consumed them. Marcus stood on the bridge of the Defiant, watching as the former Queen ship, now glowing with the same silver light that marked all awakened consciousness, took position at the center of a new formation. Humanity had gained not just allies but partners in the greatest endeavor any species had ever attempted, the conscious evolution of galactic civilization itself. "Captain," Commander Mitchell said softly, "what happens now?" Marcus smiled, feeling the vast network of consciousness stretching across the stars. Human Zephyrian and redeemed devourer minds working together to heal the galaxy's ancient wounds. "Now we grow," he said. "All of us, together." Through the network, he felt agreement from thousands of awakened minds. The universe was vast and full of wonders, and for the first time in eons, consciousness was expanding rather than merely surviving. The Age of Awakening had begun,